One of the things that came out of the doorstep conversations with people, the campaign team when they were collecting signatures, was a general concern of buildings just vanishing overnight. We've had the Wood Court is perhaps the most famous, that vanished just like that. There's the Bertram Finch Community Centre, that vanished. What's next? It just seems to be happening all the time. And people just are really just fed up to the teeth with this sort of thing happening. I think that given time, half the population of the country would have signed the petition, even those that had never heard of Sale, let alone the Sale Hotel, simply because they just recognise the problem of developers demolishing our heritage. It's an automatic progression then from the Sale Hotel to look at other buildings in the area that are also that we perceive to be under threat. And one of those is the Brooklands Cemetery Chapel and in particular Watling Gate, a beautiful old house in Timperley. And that is really looking sad and very neglected. In fact, there's demolition notice signs on the fencing around it, which is supposed to be protecting it, but you can walk through there, you can almost drive a bus through the fencing, so there's no real enthusiasm for looking after that building. And these two buildings that I've just quoted are actually in the ownership of Trafford Metropolitan Borough Council. And there doesn't seem to be very much proactive work. The conservation officer for Trafford is currently only working part-time, so we've only really got a part-time employee as a conservation officer. Trafford did the absolute minimum, the requirement of them in notifying the people, immediate neighbours of the Sale Hotel. That's fine, but some of the immediate neighbours would have been glad to see the back of it. Whereas the wider community seemed 90% in favour of keeping it. English Heritage are promoting heritage champions. They're trying to get every local authority to appoint a council member as their heritage champion, and he would coordinate and look after the borough's heritage. Because it's important financially as well for the borough to be, as for regeneration purposes, these buildings, they are important to keep them and look after them. And that's the idea. Now, there are 25 such champions, heritage champions in the Northwest. 25 boroughs in the Northwest have signed up and have appointed heritage champions. In Greater Manchester we have 10 local authorities, if you include Salford and Manchester, which are cities, but there are 10 local authorities. 8 of those have signed up for heritage champions. There are just 2 that haven't, and one of those is Trafford. Watling Gate looks actually older than it actually is. Nothing to do with the current state of it. It's just the design of it. It is actually an Edwardian house, 1904, but the inside, the design of it is to sort of look like an old hall inside, and it was a museum for many years, housing some quite interesting exhibits, which nobody seems to know where these exhibits have gone or where they are now. It was left to the people of Altrincham by Lieutenant Colonel Newton, who donated all this land and the park land and the house to the people of Altrincham. We have to assume that at the time the house was in very good order.
The house behind me has been allowed to fall into such a state over the years. They've done nothing to repair it. It's a disgraceful eyesore in Watling Gate Park, and fundamentally because in the old days, before Trafford Borough Council was created, it was Altrincham Borough Council took a pride in it. I was born here in 1942. I've lived in different parts of the country, but worked and studied, but that's given me a very good point of comparison, because if you live in a city like Cambridge or even a city like London, and then you come back to your hometown village and you look at the state of this and you think, goodness me, what lack of imagination, what lack of vision, and what a tragedy. Why should not the people of Timperley be given the benefit of some visionary councillors with some respect for the people and the place they are supposed to work and administer?